there world, Rob 907. I have finally found the perfect exhaust for my Lowrider S. It's kind of late, so I'm going to sneak out of here. To do with this motorcycle, but I want to find out how good is this microphone. Doing this test tonight with my 2020 Harley Davidson Lowrider S with the S&S 475 cam, providing all the fun. Just gonna take a ride around the block, a short ride. I really wanted to make a video about all the exhaust systems. I started out with the TBR Comp S, and that pipe was a really good pipe. It sounded pretty good at idle, it sounded great, but riding around it sounded a little bit like a truck with a blown out muffler. Performance wise, it was really good on the top end, but it had a flat spot. I didn't like that flat spot. So I did a little bit of research, found out that the Milwaukee 8's like a longer pipe. So I decided to buy an S&S Superstreet. It's a 49 state legal non-cat version. I live in Alaska, so I don't need to have that cat in there. It had a dB killer. You could remove that dB killer. Let's talk about the sound. The sound of it was just like the good old Harley Davidson sound. That's what I liked, but it was a little on the quiet side, so I took it out and rode it around. And at first I liked it, but it just sounded like the motorcycle was plugged up. More importantly than that, it didn't perform well. It felt like it was weak. It didn't have a flat spot, it was linear. The power band on it felt like it was nice and linear all the way up and across. It just felt low. It was lacking on power and torque. So went back to the interweb and I found an exhaust. It was kind of like the best of everything that everybody makes. For example, the TBR pipe goes from the header into a larger diameter pipe, and has a megaphone muffler, but it's really short. So the longer pipe, like the S&S, to make the bike run better, was an interesting attribute that I think was a plus. So I came across a Jackpot riot pipe made by Moto. Now, I'm not sponsored by anybody. They give me nothing. They give me no discounts, nothing that you can't go to the website and get. They have sales or whatever. That's about it. So I ordered that pipe. The reason why I decided to give it a shot was it's long like the S&S. It has the megaphone muffler like the TBR. And the best part about it is it performs really well. Really happy with the way it performs. The next best thing about it was the way it sounds. It doesn't just sound good at idle. It sounds great, as you can hear, because that's what's on the bike now. I, of course, ran dynos on all three pipes. I'm going to put them up here now. Now this line here, this is the TBR Comp S. And you can see right here this event, or this dip This is the loss of torque right here that I was talking about. That's a flat spot that I can feel down low. So this pipe performed pretty well up high. But if you were going to ride around town bumper to bumper and you want that good hard solid pull, that right there, you're not going to get that from the TBR pipe with the 475 cam. My buddy has a stage 1 bike with the Harley cam, the factory one, stage 1 stock cam, and it actually has a really good torque pull, but it doesn't have any horsepower on the top. It does really well for a stage 1 bike, but for the stage 2 cam, you know, the horsepower at the top is great if you stay up there all the time. If that's what you want to do and you like the look of the pipe and the sound, then that could be the pipe for you. The S&S pipe, the dyno run, as you see here, it was just low on torque, low on horsepower, all the way across, nice linear power line, but you know, it was just low power, and it just, there's something about this pipe and this design. The pipe itself comes off the heads into the header and stays the same diameter all the way to the muffler. It's a glass packed, big, long, heavy muffler with a perforated screen inside. Quality wise, I'm not going to bash it for quality. This thing is really stout. It's a beautiful pipe. It had excellent workmanship and quality. It's just that the design was what was lacking there, I think. So of course that was a 3rd place pipe. Now this, of course, this line here, I'm sure many of you are already looking at it and you've already figured it out by now. This is the Jackpot Riot, the Phil Moto pipe that I'm running on, that you've been listening to here. Now, this pipe was about 6 horsepower less than the TBR pipe, and the torque was almost dead nuts even. Now I want to say something about that. The day that I had Two Brothers dyno run was after my local Harley dealer, my mechanic Billy, who was just badass. He tuned my CVO 131, and man, that thing just goes, oh, so nice. Another video on that later, but anyway, so Billy tuned it, and all the oils and metal parts and everything is nice and warmed up. This pipe, Jackpot pipe, it was, I rode the bike from my house to the dealer, which is 3 miles, and the bike sat for about 20-30 minutes. Then he put it on the dyno, did some pulls, basically run it up to operating temperature, warm the tire up on the drum. I had ridden the bike around for an hour or so, and then took it in. All the metal parts, primary, transmission, gears, oil, everything would have been nice and warmed up, and that would have made a difference, I think. And I think that horsepower is probably dead nuts even. If not, the Jackpot puts out a little bit more, definitely more on the torque. Now, here is a little caveat to having the Jackpot pipe. It has a tunable baffle. And what that means is, in the muffler, the throughput, there's a metal tab that hangs down. And it is at an angle, like from the side, it's at an angle, and that's what the adjustability is. The adjustability is to move the angle. So straight down would be more torque, and the less you go, less torque, more horsepower. And go this way, more torque, less horsepower. Less torque, more horsepower. God, I hope I said that right. All these people driving by looking at me going, what the hell is he doing? Guy's fucking weirdo. But anyway, so that would make a difference, you know, in the decision to buy a TBR pipe for the high horsepower. If you stay at the top of the revs all the time, well, you could buy this pipe and just reset your, you know, just retune the baffle to put out that high horsepower. But just listen to the thing. Just sounds nice. Very nice, chunky sounding cam. Yeah, so if there was anything negative to say about this pipe, I would probably have to say that at first I was concerned that it didn't have heat shields. But I ridden this bike around. Now I live in Alaska, I'm not in Florida, so I don't get 110 degree, 100 degree weather. The hottest I've had this pipe on this bike in this year, I think it might have got to 80, 85 degrees max. And I don't really notice, it's not that uncomfortable. Of course the engine and everything is warm. Any pipe I've ever had is warm. So I'm gonna say I don't care. I don't really care about the heat shields. Now it's something that you might really want to think about where you live. Maybe it's pretty important, but these guys at Phil Moto told me that they all ride with this pipe. This guy has no taillights. He should really have taillights. But if you are somebody that is just absolutely nuts about making sure you have heat shields on there, you probably order some for it someday. I don't think they make them for this. I don't know if that's a deal breaker for you. That's really too bad, because it's such a nice pipe. So performance wise, A+. Looks wise, A+. When I took this pipe out of the box, as soon as I held the header pipes up, I could tell this thing is substantial. It is. Huh, what's going on there? Yeah, this is Spinard. You never know. Yeah, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, quality. The quality of this pipe is really high quality. As soon as I took it out of the box, I could just hold the pipes in my hand. I could just feel the quality. They were just really substantial. The welds, the muffler, stainless steel, all of the welds had the bluing, that pretty bluing that happens. As soon as it warmed up, it started getting a little bit of that brown tarnished look to it. I added a copper derby cover to kind of give that side some of that more rustic look. I'm going to do another video on this eventually. Do a little walk around on this bike and show it to you in the daylight. Because as you can see by looking at the dyno on this pipe, it hit hard. It goes across. A very nice linear power band. And I didn't tune this either. This is off of the Two Brothers pipe tune. Choku Charlie. But yeah, nice steady events all the way across. Good power. And you can really feel it in the grip. You can feel it maintain all the way throughout the power band. I think I'm going to turn around. I might enter somebody's neighborhood here. I don't want to do that. Well, this here is going to conclude my video. It's nice to have my journey for the best exhaust for my Lowrider S concluded as well. I'll go this way. So if you found this video because you were searching for different exhaust systems for your bike and wanted more information before you made your purchase, I hope that I have helped you to come to a conclusion to pick out the perfect exhaust for your bike. You may like the S&S, you may like the Two Brothers, and if you do, that's okay. That's okay. If you're here for entertainment purposes, then thank you. In any case, help me out growing this channel. So that being said, stay tuned, more coming up. Like, subscribe, share, do all of that stuff. Until next time, live good, ride safe, and be well. This is an overlay of the 3 pipes that I'm talking about today. The TBR pipe pull here was done the day that I had my bike professionally dyno tuned. The other 3 pipes were put on the bike with the same map, the same tune, and I rode from my house, which is about 3 miles away from the dealer. So I think that had the oil and metal parts and everything been warmed up as they were the day that the TBR pipe was tested, that the results probably would have been a little bit better. You can see right here, this dip, this is the TBR pipe. That is the dip that I was talking about. The loss in power happens here at about 3,300 RPMs. So it starts to pull at 3,500. When you're cruising through town, stoplight to stoplight, and you roll the throttle on, that is where the Jackpot pipe shines. Because, as I said, the torque numbers are the same, but here is the torque with the TBR pipe, here is the torque with the Jackpot pipe. So it hits hard and it keeps on going. The horsepower difference, peak horsepower, is 6 horsepower. And as I said, warm the bike up properly so that you're creating an even environment for testing. It probably would be better here. The S&S pipe, as you can see, is just not a contender all the way across. It has more of a linear power band, but there's such a loss in numbers both on torque and horsepower with this S&S pipe that you can get better performance out of either of the other 2. The difference in numbers is, as you can see, the S&S is quite low in torque and horsepower. Even tuning, it would have been hard to capture that loss, I think, with that one. So that one's a definite 3rd place. These other 2, though, the torque being the same and the horsepower just being a little bit off, I think that getting a good session, warming everything up, you're probably going to see this number come up as well as this number. And I may do that someday just to see. But the really cool thing about the Jackpot pipe is it has a tunable baffle. And that means that you can tune so it can provide more torque or less torque depending on the angle that you set. I don't know what it's called, but there's a tab of metal that suspends in the middle of the airflow for the exhaust where it flows through the pipe. There's a tab that sticks right down, and they adjust the angle to adjust your torque and horsepower differential. So if you want the bike for peak horsepower, you tune that back. If you want it for maximum torque, then you would go the other direction. They set it from the factory kind of in the middle because that's where it performs the best. When I look at this chart and these results, it says exactly what I'm feeling. Keep in mind, this was not tuned. It's running on the bike with a tune that was done for this pipe. That right there is enough for me to make my case as to why Jackpot pipe wins in this unintentional exhaust shootout. We're good.